Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Hey, morning, friends.
Yeah.
Happy Wednesday. Happy to be joining you from the studio in Ogden, Utah.
Yep.
And we have a guest standing by. We'll get to that in just a moment. I don't have any real announcements. We have not decided on our topic for Friday.
Yeah.
We do have a V8w event tomorrow. So we've got, I'm not V8w, V8 Plus event. So I've got V8w on my mind because that's what Ken Yang is here to join us and talk about.
This is something we've been talking about for a while doing. Is having, because V8 is actually part of the White Hat Way. It's under the umbrella of White Hat Way.
That's right.
And now that we have our first graduating class of dealers and vendors who are now White Hat certified, that we thought it would be a great time to really start layering in the conversation of White Hat Way around V8 and straight line topics.
Yeah. So shall we bring Ken in?
Absolutely.
Happy to introduce again
Ken's got his great background, which I just love.
Got that going on. So Ken, welcome. So those who didn't catch the time, Ken's been on with us before. So Ken Yang is a retiring dealer, as I call him, and a moderator in waiting. He started to kind of moderate some groups with us in V8. So many of the dealers have met Ken and recognized his experience as a retiring dealer with experience in buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here, reinsurance. I mean, lots of the different aspects of this business. Been in business for many years. And so we're thrilled to have him be among the first White Hat certified members, and especially a White Hat certified coach.
Yeah. So Ken's, how Ken kind of intersects with us is that he was one of the first people that raised their hand when we were looking for moderators for V8.
Right.
And got to know him. And
feel really fortunate to have somebody with Ken's background joining us in that. So Ken, I ask you, first thing I'd like to hear from you, like your takeaways from the certification course. I mean, what did you get from that?
The course was great. Thank you for having me on today. I'm really honored to be here with you guys and to be on this journey with you. And I would say the biggest takeaway that I got from the course the other day was that White Hat Way is it's not a philosophy, right? It's a way of life that's like deeply rooted in honor and trust and service to others. And I heard that from Michelle, and I was like, man, that's so amazing. And originally I thought it was like, it might be like a philosophy or, whatever, but I was like, it's not that at all. It's really, a way of life of doing things and serving others,
That's good. I love it. Yeah, it is. It's a way of life, which obviously when we show up and have a certain way of life, then that's naturally going to carry into our business, right? In the way that we would treat others in our business. So yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. We feel like that's part of what we talk about in that session. And we said, when we invite people into the room, part of the idea with that certification course is to have the opportunity to talk about more than buy here, pay here, right? More than the day-to-day matters of pricing cars and selling cars and all the stuff that happens in a buy here, pay here, and lease here, pay here operation. So yeah, I'm glad you were able to be a part of it. And I look forward to, as we step into this V8w track, just to kind of help folks understand what that's about. We have our V8 dealer groups that we kicked off last year in 2024. And so that platform is where you and I meet dealers and work with dealers all the time. And so the premise behind our V8w, first of all, I got to stop and recognize our founding sponsors. Our founding sponsors for White Hat Way have been with us, for some time now, started in 2023, and they have supported this mission, which White Hat Way is really the organization and the mission that created V8 as a way to be able to deliver solutions to dealers, right? We're just creating a peer group platform, and so that's part of what happens there. Now, by bringing the White Hat Way track to that, we get a chance to basically, you and I, as a certified coach, Ken, this is the part that I look forward to working with you. You and I will host that series, and we will and it'll be an ongoing thing, but you and I will arrange to record on certain subjects. Like, for example, among the things that I had written would be things like, how does a white hat dealer advertise? How does a white hat? So that would be subject one. It would be the subject of a single session. You and I would host that. We may bring specialists. You know, another quick mention, and I didn't go ahead and say the names, but for those who don't know, our founding sponsors at White Hat Way are LHBH Capital and Dealer Re, the reinsurance folks, and then Pastime, the GPS people. So it's their support that allows us to do a lot of the things that are kind of our mission-driven effort. And now you're just kind of seeing the latest one. So again, Ken, the platform will basically be you and I will host. We may or may not have guests, and we will record those. Once that's recorded and edited, it'll kind of be available as a live reaction sort of event in a V8w track. So we will schedule that, and V8 dealers will be invited and be able to be part of that conversation where we react to the content that has been recorded. We'll talk through it and just discuss it in that way. And then once that's been hosted in the V8w track, then eventually it'll be available to anyone, anywhere through YouTube and some of our other platforms. But we want to just host it through our tracks at White Hat Way and especially on our V8 track. So your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that's I think that would be so great. It provide a ton of value for for dealers that are looking to grow and looking to do business in a way that really serves others.
Yeah. So that's part of what we look forward to being able to do with you, is to have these conversations and help folks think about, how would a white hat dealer do this? And for me, that's really, it's a lot, as you heard us talk about in certification course, it's really about the long game, right? It's about thinking about tomorrow and next year and 10 years from now as we make business decisions. And as you know, a lot of that for me ends up being asking dealers to think about getting comfortable with the idea of making decisions kind of through their heart. Obviously, decisions are mostly made in our head, but when we leave our heart out of the decision-making process, it sometimes causes us to make decisions that are a little more short-sighted. So this is kind of where I'm coming from on that. So go ahead.
I was, you mentioned around the service, and I think that's one of the pieces that we did during the certification was on trust deposits on your trust bank. And, this is something that we talk to a lot of the dealers that we work with about, when a hard conversation needs to happen, what are you drawing upon as equity for that conversation to happen in a way that it's not in conflict, it's not in as adversaries, that it's one where I trust you, you trust me. How do we move forward through this thing? And I remember when we did the certification, we talked about a lot of different companies that have really, it's that level of trust that they give and they create through going above and beyond and being transparent and all of those things. And we use the example of Southwest Airlines as a really great example of, their trust bank with their consumers was strong enough that the major hiccup could be, they were transparent. This is something that's happened. We're getting it fixed, but they had a lot in the bank, so they didn't lose customers in the process.
Right.
And which, that's for White Hat Way, that's business 101 is how do you create an atmosphere where you can have the hard conversations and it's not adversarial, or that you can step in together to serve others or serve each other and be able to create those commonalities, those bounds. The humor that Southwest has when they're doing their thing, those are trust deposits. They make it fun. They're making the experience something that it's engaging, and it's not just someone talking at them. It's they're engaging them in certain ways. So
and can I get your feedback on that? I'm not trying to make this into a Southwest Airlines commercial, but it's kind of interesting to me that Southwest is the one who came forward in their marketing with this phrase of transparency, right? It was about fares and being transparent in that. So they're a company that very much leans on trust and building that. So your own thoughts about that? I mean, you observe the Southwest Airlines, or any other examples that you have from your own business about how trust matters in these relationships?
Yeah, I think that trust and transparency is definitely something that is really what makes your relationships work, right? And the reality is that we all go through challenges, whether it's a dealer or whether it's a consumer. We all go through challenges in life, whether it's with your business or whatever. But being transparent and being honest and truthful about what's really happening, I think, is what helps the relationship, continue to flourish and grow, even if it means, hey, we part ways as a business and a customer, but it's, being honest and trustworthy and transparent. I think it's extremely important.
So let me ask you this, there's a lot of people out there that they talk about relationships, and it's about that what is taught is if you want change in a relationship, you need to be the instigator of change.
Oh yeah.
And so we can talk about trust and transparency, and I can hear in my from past conversations, dealers are like, well, they're not transparent, and they're not this, and they're not that. And I just would like your thoughts. It's like, is this something that you think just happens overnight, or is it something that did you feel after the certification that there were ways that were made aware to you through that? Is like, oh, we can do better in this. Oh, we can do better in that. Oh, we can do better in the other, for you to be the instigator of change. Do you want to?
Oh yeah. So I think what kind of comes to mind is that I'm thinking, where does it come from, right? And as a dealer myself, a lot of times, what's automatically there, or by default that's there, is mitigating risk or managing my risk. And so when I have a customer that's not being truthful or honest, or when they tear up my car, kind of the example I'm thinking about is a recent repo, and I automatically go on like the defense of, how do I protect myself, or what do I need to do, or what do I need to say, and it goes back to that fear of losing something, or fear of missing something, or fear of something, and it causes me to sometimes think about not really how I can serve this customer, but how do I protect myself now? Right. And it made me think, what if I looked at it from a different lens of, maybe the customer's afraid of something as well. They're afraid of their losing their job, or they're afraid of getting in trouble, or afraid of me suing them, or whatever. But what if I have a conversation with them around, hey, I get it, stuff happens, how do we move forward? And so I think that's part of what's there, as a dealer, is that fear. And so really understanding that I don't really have to come from a place of fear and anxiety, but more of, thinking about the white hat way, more of how, doing things, the white hat way. So.
Yeah.
And one of the things good morning, Karen, too, that we talked about through the certification process is that it's a lot of these types of ideologies are not new. There are so many dealers out there that they're living the different principles already. This is just a way for us to be able to help dealers put an identity around it.
Yes.
So it becomes a differentiator from other dealers, actually, of like, this is what you're going to get. And so White Hat Way is a way to be able to, like, from the beginning, as this continues to grow is it's like a customer is already stepping in with a certain level of trust from the gate. And so that it's kind of giving dealers as we're educating the consumers in that area about what White Hat Way is, that it's giving them something that they can, oh, I didn't know this, or oh, this is, I do need a car, and I would rather work with someone that's like that. Are we still going to get people that are troublemakers? Probably. We're going to, work our hardest to be able to mitigate that through layers of trust and respect and honesty and transparency and all of that. But when you think about your customer, Ken, we watch the economy kind of expand and contract, and there's a lot of contraction in certain things that are happening right now. And then through that, we have people that, I mean, how many of your customers are your customers, are our customers because they hit a roadblock in life, something that really just kind of knocked them off their foundation, and now they're finding themselves in a place where they can't get regular financing, but they already have a lot of the skills for, I'm going to need to pay my bill, and I need to do the thing, and that how attractive that something like, I've been through setbacks, you've been through setbacks. And if you knew that you had to step in somewhere, like, whatever it is that, you've got your buy here, pay here is one of many pieces in a segment of people that have poor credit, that it's like, I don't want to get taken advantage of. I want to be treated I want to be treated like a human, and someone that matters, and someone that has feelings. And
you're right, Michelle. I remember when I got into the business, like 20 something years ago, and the thing around being a buy here, pay here dealer is that these customers have bad credit, so they have no options. Well, that's not true anymore. They do have options. And even if they didn't have any options, why would you want to treat, another human being in a crappy way?
Spot on. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if they've had some blemishes on their credit. Yeah, they might have made some poor choices in the past, but that's no excuse to treat someone, poorly, and the thing is that, car dealers already have, a bad stigma for, the sleazy used car salesperson, and yeah, there are dealers out there I know that are great dealers. They do, like what you said, Michelle, they're already doing business, kind of the White Hat way, but there are dealers out there that are not so good dealers.
Sure.
And you can kind of tell. I mean, I'm on Facebook, in some of these groups, and some of these, advice or things that some of these dealers say is just horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's, I mean,
right.
But again, it goes back to what's right and what's wrong. Right?
Well,
like what's right to you may not be right for me, or what's right for me may not be right for you,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it does start, though, at a human level. When I think about what we're doing through White Hat Way, White Hat certification, and now this V8w track, is like, when I think about it, Ken, it's like, you're right. There are dealers out there who are operating by their own set of code principles and code of honor. And I think what we have a chance to do, and what we are doing with White Hat Way, is giving some dealers an opportunity to have some education and some identity that they can lean on, so that they can work with their team when they have a new hire that says, this is who we are. This is how we think about the world that we live in. This is how we conduct business. And it will be the same tomorrow and next year. And every customer that we approach, when we bring that sort of mindset and attitude and outlook to the thing, this is the challenge that you and I will face. And I'm happy to take it on, head on, because you and I will be taking on intangible items, and we will be working to make them more tangible for dealers to be able to install them in their business. How do they apply these intangible things, and how do they train their team? So this is part of what the education that you and I will create in the coming weeks and months here will help dealers to better, first of all, understand what we mean by White Hat Way and how it can better help them in their business. And they can decide if they subscribe to the things that we're teaching over here. But I think what people will find is, at the end of the day, when you go through all of this squiggly lines and intangibles, and Jim's over here talking about leading some heart-led mission, you can hear that stuff. And I can say that when they get to the end of it, they'll say, you know what, I believe my business will be more successful when I truly adopt, not just pretend to adopt, but when I truly adopt these principles and the practices that are going to tie to those principles, then, the idea is people are going to be more successful. They're certainly going to be more sustainable. They're going to be around longer, right? Because, you talked about this customer and how you would approach them. And we talk about a customer being sticky, right? You talk about trust deposits and approaching a situation where, you heard me in the certification course use the phrase, first time I've used the phrase lifetime handshake. It's like, we've heard this idea of a customer for life. And when I think about that and I meet a customer and I have the expectation that they're going to be my customer for life, it helps me and my team, I hope, to navigate whatever the setback of the day is, mechanical problem, job change, whatever that looks like. When we have a lifetime outlook, then our ability to navigate and to arrive at that meeting with a certain outlook and ability to solve problems in a more permanent way is part of what White Hat Way has a chance to be foundationally for people. So whether you want to call it a philosophy or a way of life, if it helps people take what is intangible and make it more real in their business, then I believe they'll be more successful.
Oh yeah. You know what? The other thing I really like about it is we talk, briefly about, like customers, being White Hat certified, right? Because, of course, you got a credit report that you can pull and you see the metrics and the numbers on the, whatever, and when we talk about like from the heart, a customer can't come to a dealer and say, hey, trust me, I'm a good person, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be transparent, and so, there's nothing to measure that, right? And I think that, a customer being a certified, White Hat customer, I think that has a bunch of value as well. Right. Now a dealer can say, hey, you know what, we've got a, White Hat certified customer, it doesn't guarantee they're going to pay their bills on time, but, it's something that they're saying that, hey, I'm making a pledge to do this.
It's a trust deposit.
Yeah,
it's a trust deposit for you as a dealer.
It's a statement, it's a commitment that others won't choose to make. It's like if I step forward to put my signature on this thing and I take the test, I put the effort into taking the test and I pass the test. But of course, just like you did in Utah, we'll have to put the consumer through a grueling obstacle course, just like you have.
I think I lost that 15 pounds after that obstacle course,
one of the things I was just thinking about is like you said, we because we go to conferences and we're members of different Facebook groups and where there's other dealers that are talking, we have the ability to look at dealers in a whole and go like, crud, I know why this industry has typically such a bad persona. And the thing because we know where we're coming from how, we're trying to be transparent, honest, and all of these things. But how does a consumer know one dealer from another dealer about who it is that, other than their Google reviews and their referrals from friends? They don't know one dealer from the next dealer about who out there are the predators, because there are enough predators out there in the industry that do buy here, pay here, that has created this persona. And so how do they know? And
I know because soon you'll start to see, Vic Everett in California on his Facebook page, he will have a White Hat certified seal on his Facebook page and on his website. And so they will begin to hit the QR code and understand what White Hat Way is. And they will be able to differentiate that dealer from another dealer in Vic's market. And so this is where obviously our certification course this time around was part workshop, part focus group, trying to make sure we get the curriculum dialed in and what we really want both the course and the test to be like, and also what we want the ongoing education renewal to look like, so that we can have a continuing education and verify that people are still out there following those practices, right? And kind of, being true to the kind of the white hat community commitment. And so we're excited about where it's going. We're certainly thrilled to bring you on to the team and be part of that coaching, because it was clear to me early on that you have operated your business that way. You live that way in your life, and so it's just part of kind of bringing a human element.
And it's also in, there's a lot of people that are just like, they're really good, principled, oriented people out there that may not have a real clarity in how they incorporate that into their business, incorporate some of these principles that they live day to day, that, if they're churchgoers, they're being taught in church or whatever those principles are. And that we recognize that, if the only thing because it's been the only way that you've been taught is a system and a process that is not infused with those principles, then, a dealer is kind of on their own about how do we incorporate this? Well, part of White Hat Way for the dealer as well is giving some real life examples and like we're being way showers in how you incorporate those principles that most people live by. And how we put that in our business, because what we're really encouraging people to do as well, and we see this in business a lot of times, let's name the person Bob. There is a Bob that goes to church, and there is a Bob that conducts business, and they are not the same Bob. And so this is a way for us to, it's like, let's just bring all of the Bob elements that are his best into the business and actually help elevate the conversation with our consumers and with other businesses in the area. Because I can see this having ripples into title loan places, into even like your repo companies. It's just like, we're starting, and that's the thing that really to me is most exciting when you think about where White Hat Way is starting to be a kind of an identity and a way shower for businesses to how can we show up as the ones that people can rely on, the idea that these are the principles that we're going to be living by. And, not every consumer is going to care. We know that, but we also know that there are plenty out there that it will matter to, and they just don't know who is and who isn't.
Right.
And
I would say, Ken, that, you heard me say in the course, like I've always said, I can't make a dealer care, right? The best we can hope to do with White Hat Way is to inspire people to be able to lean into, when they do care, that they now have a better way to tell that story and to implement pieces in their business. And then the big opportunity for you and me, and I'm recognizing as we talk about this, that in the V8 track, one of the things that we will have an opportunity to do is to be able to start to demonstrate that these white hat practices, if you will, really make a difference on the bottom line and the portfolio performance and all these things and the numbers that we monitor in V8. It's our big opportunity to go and show that this is more than just talk about intangibles. We're applying intangible things in a way that are very tangible in the dealership, and they result in very real progress. So this is the opportunity.
And even if it doesn't, it's not gonna diminish the bottom line. It's not gonna make you constrict. But even if all it is we're doing business the same way we did before, but we have a way to be able to express who we are and our beliefs with our consumers. And so that way showing of this is a way of doing it, that you can, and Jim is, like help people sleep better at night. But I've known plenty of people that have no scruples that sleep really well. So it's like that kind of thing is.
It's about feeling good and having a legacy. And so, Ken, I know you're a guy who really has focused a lot on the culture of your team. And so, I know that one of the opportunities too with White Hat Way is it really has a chance to have a profound impact on a team culture. When we can be united around this sort of core identity, it's one of the beautiful things that can come from that. So you might speak to your perception on that.
That when you say that, it reminds me not only about me, but it reminds me of Meg and Ryan, when they shared about the people, the team on the people that they hire on their team. And, they'll hire someone that's, it's got a criminal, record, giving them an opportunity, a chance that when their options are limited, and I've done that in the past as well, and you get burned sometimes, but really it's not really about whether I'm going to get burned or not, or if I'm going to lose or not. It's really about helping someone, making a difference in someone's life, but giving them a chance where, their options may be a little bit limited, and hoping and praying that, maybe, whatever you believe, but I believe in God, that God's going to come in their life and, going to, change them and their circumstances and they can see that, hey, someone gave me a chance and gave me a job, and so, they may have an opportunity to better themselves. And so creating that culture at your business is, is a culture of love, a culture of serving, a culture of, honor and trust, and just, respecting human being. And that's great.
I love, so Meg and Ryan Jones, they're out of Alabama. Why do I always want to say Mississippi? They're out of Alabama. They're also White Hat certified. And, I when you say that you hire someone and that you could get really harmed in the process, you can get harmed in the process from anyone off the street.
Oh yeah.
And so, there's probably horror stories about, I hired this, they didn't have a criminal record, but I hired this person and all of that. And we're talking about just like someone hits something that makes them do something that creates a bad, a really poor credit score or really poor inability. It's like, it can be the same kinds of things that you have an opportunity just in your community to help people offer them a hand up and, to change their circumstances. And gosh darn it. How great would it feel as a business owner to know that you've graduated customers into something where they now can experience the benefits of having better credit, of having a better whatever. And, whether or not we're graduating them to another business or we're graduating them to a different type of car and financing within our own dealership. But it's like, part of this too is not about keeping someone in the same rut that they're in. This is about giving them opportunities to improve, giving them opportunities to have a better experience. And
I think that's the one. A lot of people talk about, Ken, that, giving people an opportunity to improve their credit circumstances. And I think that's wonderful. I think we want to at least create that opportunity for people. I also think that some folks that we meet will not necessarily have as an aspiration to improve their credit circumstances, in which case I want them to be doing business with a White Hat dealer who cares about their experience. Because if they're going to be with me as a dealer for years, decades, I just want to make sure they're treated fairly and they have a good experience, as long as they're with me, that they're not being mistreated, right? And so I think back to the thing you talked about, it's like, when you get burned by whether it's an employee or a customer, or 2 out of 3, might burn you, the natural reaction is to react out of fear, as you said. And I could just stop helping everyone because 2 or 3 burned me. But then that obviously the 7 or 8 suffer. Whereas we could just make the commitment to let's do what we can to make sure that we help those 2 or 3, that we get better ourselves at helping those 2 or 3. And we're still going to have some, as Michelle said, you're still going to have troublemakers, and you're going to extend a hand, and some are going to, react poorly, and it's not going to go well. But we know we can't, fix every situation and every person.
We also know that the troublemakers are nowhere near those kind of percentages. And it's like you got a couple in 100 that are the troublemakers. Are we going to make everyone else suffer because of the troublemaker? And it's not necessary.
Sure.
That's right. And if you got a whole bunch of troublemakers, then you might want to look at your marketing. Are you attracting the troublemakers?
Good point. Or are you putting them in a position where they can only be a troublemaker because you're not willing to have a conversation, or you're not willing to, and we all know human nature, when you are backed into a corner and have no options, a lot of people come out and they so, and that can be construed or interpreted as a troublemaker, where it's because they're backed into a corner, and people will defend themselves.
So will dealers.
And so will dealers, by the way, too. Yeah,
totally. I think, Michelle, that from my experience, I think a lot of that, can be controlled or is caused by, the buy here, pay here dealer. And what I mean by that is, you think about it, right? You're selling a car to somebody that, normally can't get conventional financing because of poor choices in the past, right? So, and if you expect that person to make their payment on time every single time for 36 months, that's not going to happen. Yeah, you're going to get some that will, but I mean, it's unrealistic to expect that they're going to pay their payment every single time. Right. And it's also unrealistic that if you sell them a car that is going to have some issues, and you're not willing to help, or if you intentionally sell a car that you don't fix hardly anything on it, I mean, the car is going to break down. And most of these buy here, pay here customers, of course, they're not bad people, but their funds and their cash flow is kind of limited. And so if you're not willing to help them, guess what? You're creating a scenario to where they might turn into a not so pleasant customer because they've got all these expenses that are coming up, and sometimes it happens all at once. So you've got to get that. If you're in the buy here, pay here space, help your customer out.
You got to have a good point. Those expenses you're talking about, add up to stresses in their life. So if we don't have solutions to help them work through those stresses, then we can expect to have a lot of repos on the back line, right?
And there's also this. We were talking with someone, and I'm going to use this merry-go-round. That there's a merry-go-round of being downtrodden, of having, and it's sometimes it feels. I've observed that it's like there is I'm a victim of this. I'm a victim of that. I'm a victim. And that it's like, these are real life examples of, I lost my job. My wife was in a bad car accident. And now she's in the hospital. So, of being victims of things. And this is a really great opportunity for us to be able to support and educate in the process as well, so that people understand that, it's when you can start to disrupt the belief that I'm a victim and start to empower your consumers, you start really changing our consumer base, which is a beautiful thing that we have an opportunity to do, because we work directly with the consumer base that does feel victimized by a lot of things. And so how do we help them step out of victimhood and, help them pay their bills on time and figure out how to do all of the different things. And
and I love that, Michelle, and like what you said, it's about empowering them, but it's not about enabling, right? It's not about enabling the customer with, bad behavior or poor choices. It's empowering them so they can make some good choices, but a lot of times, I'll be honest, sometimes some of these people may have never experienced that except through the dealer. Like if the dealer is helping, empowering them, that might be the only time that they get to experience, hey, this is what it looks like to be able to have control of my life. And XYZ dealer helped me be able to, Bob the dealer, and he's Asian, by the way, Bob,
of course. We knew that.
So Bob, the dealer, helped me, and empowered me to be, showed me how I can, get my credit back on track, or whatever. So.
Yeah. So a couple of quick things. I got to mention a couple of the people who commented today. I'll throw them back up there.
Karen Barnett.
You met Karen at the certification course. She's now a White Hat certified independent agent. Many of you know her from working many years with SDA. She attended and is an independent agent.
And she's a White Hat Way ambassador.
That's right.
So
yeah, she's an ambassador we named some time ago. And then Vic Everett, who commented, which, by the way, Ken, I'm a little bit slighted. I got to tell Vic, I don't know why he offered good point to Michelle. I thought you and I made some good points today too. We're the love for Jim and Ken, but yeah. So I don't know, Vic. I appreciate it.
Vic's smooth.
Yeah, he knows. He knows who runs the microphones over here. So no, it's all good. I think so Vic is also in East Los Angeles, is White Hat certified, and we love the idea of supporting him and getting his business established, and White Hat Way can be a big part of that. But we should wrap up. We've run pretty long today.
So at the summary is that we are starting we've talked before about having White Hat Ways, just a very specific track for White Hat Way, and this is where we've landed on the best place for us to launch this type of conversation. And so it is going to be a V8 plus initial conversation, but it will be content and it will be education that any dealer has access to. And but it's about elevating the straight line conversations. So how do we incorporate the principles of White Hat Way in all of the operational type decisions and policies and all of those kind of things, so that we really start to set a very firm foundation, that our foundation is not around just the operational. Our foundation is around our why, and the why is how do we help elevate our consumers and help them be successful, because dealers, the main thing with as a White Hat Way dealer, that the success of the customer is primary.
Right.
And and so having the conversation around white hat topics, or around straight line pieces and white hat topics, and how we can take those white hat topics and really weave them into our operations.
Right. Yep. So all good stuff. I think we recognize the opportunity. Ken, you and I will start to record some of this around White Hat Way right away, and that'll be available in the V8 track soon. Very soon. Yeah. So look forward to that. And Ken, I promise next time you come, we will have the photo of you holding your White Hat certificate. We didn't bring that together.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah.
So thanks for the background. That's pretty darn awesome.
Yeah.
So Ken, any parting words before we look?
I'm just so excited to be a part of this, and it's near and dear to my heart, and doing business this way. And so, I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
Excellent.
We're glad to have you.
Just one extra thing before we put you backstage, or before we place you backstage, is that Ken is our director of dealer services.
Mm-hmm.
And Ken, dealer services, one of the things under dealer services is V8. And so as we continue to grow and scale V8, Ken is the director of those dealer services.
Yeah.
So we are really, really grateful to have him as a team member.
And I think what that means, as much as the most important part of that, is anybody who's a V8 member who's got a complaint, send it to Ken at whitehatway.com. That's Ken at whitehatway.com. And
that's actually not right. It's Ken.Yang at White.
Oh, that's right. I said it wrong. I gotta get that right. So,
I'll handle with transparency and trust.
All right. Can you stick around for just a second so we can say a proper goodbye? Thanks so much, Ken.
Thank you guys.
All right. Great conversation. Really, Ken's I'm excited to see where we go with all of the White Hat Way and V8 pieces. So again, V8 is a product of White Hat Way Incorporated. And so we're just offering more options for dealers to dive more into what White Hat Way principles look like in their operations.
Great
So
place for
everybody,
get them in front of the dealers. Yep.
we don't know what we're going to be talking about again yet on Friday. You got any ideas?
Probably be numbers.
Probably be numbers. Usually we do that. Thank you so much for tuning in or for listening to us on our syndicated podcast stations. And if we ever have charts and graphs, go to YouTube, Jim and Michelle Rhoads at octane.group, and like and subscribe, and so you can get access to when new content is dropped, especially if there are charts and graphs. All right, everybody, have a great day. Thanks again so much for joining, and we will see you on Friday.